Welcome to the very first episode of Hacked at Home, where we uncover the world of residential and business cybersecurity. Our goal is to make this podcast a weekly event, and we will dive deep into cybersecurity topics and current active threats. My name is Tom Geisler. I'm the owner of Blue Chameleon Investigations, a full-service private investigative firm. Today, we are diving into a crucial topic, personal cybersecurity threats at home. I am joined by Patrick Wright, the technical expert behind the Home Shield service, and Elaina Rivera, who will be offering a non-technical perspective. Welcome, Patrick and Elaina.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you. It's good to be here. Hello, everyone. I'll take a quick moment and do a quick introduction. My name is Patrick Wright. I am the Director of Cybersecurity for Blue Chameleon Investigations. I have an almost 2-decade career in cybersecurity. I am a cybersecurity executive. I'm a founder, a technical expert in all things hacking. And so I will be your guide and your technical voice, and also probably a little bit of relating on the soft side of things as we take a look at what it's like to be attacked at home and at your business.
Oh,
Elaina, you want to give everybody a quick introduction to yourself?
sure. Hey, I'm Elaina Rivera. I am a director of marketing with Blue Chameleon Investigations. My background also includes about 15 years in communications and tech. I worked for Verizon and a company called Altel and was able to grow with all this technology, but my knowledge barely got me by. And I keep hearing and seeing more and more folks every day with these concerns, so I'm excited to get it on the conversation.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm excited, guys. This is our very first episode of Hacked at Home. Hey, I'm crazy
Yes, it
excited. All
is.
right, Tom, take us and our listeners on a journey here.
Okay, so to kick things off, let's talk about why personal cybersecurity matters. Patrick, how is the residential cybersecurity different from professional settings?
In a word, it sucks. Residential and personal cybersecurity is rough, guys. When a business is attacked, there's a lot of recourse. There really is. You have government agencies, law enforcement agencies, you have IT departments, you have security vendors like ourselves. When you're attacked at home, you don't really have any of that. So I think we're going to get into it a little bit later in the show, guys. But if you've ever come under personal cyber attack and tried to seek help from modern law enforcement, sheriff's department, police department, even your local FBI field office, they can't help you. Not only can't they help you, they won't help you. They're not staffed for it. They're not trained for it. They don't have the people for it. It's a nightmare. And disturbingly, we have seen trends over the last probably I'd say 18 to 24 months, Tom. There are some very sophisticated hacking groups that are actually preying on individuals. 10, 15 years ago, the goal of these groups was for one massive payout from a business like Microsoft, Google, IBM, Amazon, anybody like that. But those companies don't really pay the ransom anymore. They're not really paying out, so they are adjusting their targets. They're going after small businesses and they're going after individuals in their home. And if it's not directly for ransom, it could be an ideologically driven threat. So you could literally be dealing with somebody in Iran that just wants to see the world burn, or you could be dealing with a threat group in Russia that wants to steal your identity very silently. Maybe you never even know they're there until it's too late, and then they'll sell your identity on the dark web or something like that. It is, I'd say, out of the dozens and dozens and dozens of clients, Tom, that we have with BCI for cybersecurity and Home Shield, probably the most disturbing part in my observation is the mental impact that this has on people. It absolutely just messes with people's minds. It does.
Mhm.
A lot of people, like myself, like you, we're very security centric. We can shoot back, we can punch back, but when someone's hacking your devices and someone's invading every digital aspect of your life, what are you going to do? For a lot of our clients, it's the first time that they've really felt helpless. And that helplessness is horrible. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it for them. I just want to give them a giant hug and make it better. While I might not be able to hug all of our clients, thankfully we do have some solutions that can make it better for them, for sure.
I think a big chunk of that is the shift you're talking about over time, and most people think of cyber attacks and it's only for big businesses and corporations and billions of dollars in ransom and stuff like that. And most small business owners, local small business owners with under 10 folks, on their team, they're not thinking as far as when they're getting their business up and running, what do I do for cybersecurity? How do I protect my client's information? How do I protect mine? It's the last thought most people have.
Right. And Elaina, I would add to that. A lot of small business owners need to think about this, but they don't think about protecting their employees' information either. It's always protect the customer, protect the customer, protect the business. But we sometimes tend to forget, a small bit, especially in a small business, right? Especially in a small business is only as good as the people that it hires, right? And business owners they have a duty, they have an obligation to protect those employees as well. And we will probably cover this in another episode, but there have been quite a few lawsuits from employees against their employers because their information was stolen during a cyber breach.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. It's crazy out there, Tom.
Oh, yeah.
If you're a small business and that happens, if you're breached, you're completely liable for whatever gets out there. And that can
100%.
ruin it is wild. That's one way to put it.
Yeah, wild is a polite
Yeah.
word for it. Yeah, it really
Scary
is.
though. It's scary, and it's not just big businesses anymore or, celebrities. It's whoever's open, because a lot of this stuff is automated too, right?
9.5% of it is fully automated. It's just absolute indiscriminate. It's like using a nuke in a war, just indiscriminate termination of everything, and that's kind of what personal cybersecurity, Tom, to bring us full circle. That's kind of what personal cybersecurity has devolved into. Your internet service providers, Spectrum, AT&T, whoever you have, Comcast, whoever you have, uh, they they have the smallest percentage and the smallest degree of protection simply because they can't protect you like you need to be protected. They're not installing firewalls at your home. They're protecting their data center, their operations. And the sad and unfortunate reality is that we as individuals, we need protection. We really do. If I had a magic lamp I could rub and have a genie pop out of it for technology, I would wish that modern law enforcement would have the resources to help individuals. It would be wonderful. Law enforcement is always the first step, even in some of the biggest. And Tom, you know this from some of your background in North Carolina. Even some of the biggest, most well-funded police departments have what, two guys
Exactly.
in a cyber division, maybe one, two guys if they're really well-funded, and they have thousands and thousands of cases come in, and there's not enough time. There's not enough time, not enough money. There's just not enough. There's not enough of anything.
Yeah, with my background in law enforcement, it's always been a issue with manpower. There's more crime out there, more threats than a police department can handle.
Yeah, there you go.
Generally, it's always a uphill battle with manpower.
Percent. So what's next on the agenda here, Tom?
All right, so next is real world risks in residential cybersecurity. So let's go into some common threats people face at home.
Sure. So just like in personal cybersecurity, it's almost identical to business cybersecurity, and it's usually the easy stuff that gets you in trouble, right? While we are at our place of employment, while we're in a company, they can force us to change our passwords. They can force us to use very long, very complex passwords that are very hard to crack. They can force us to have proper what we in the industry call cyber hygiene, right? Just doing what you're supposed to be doing, basically common sense security. We don't have any of that at home. So many, I'd say the vast majority of the individuals that we work with have been using the same password for decades, literal decades. Maybe they put an exclamation on the end of it. Maybe they put a star or something like that. And it's just bad. It's really bad. Not only that, but the hardware that is available for people to purchase. You go to Best Buy, Staples, Office Max, Office Depot. I think Office Depot is still around. Whoever you go to Walmart and buy a wireless router, it has very basic security built into it. And just like in the business world at home, if a hacker has physical proximity to the target, it's it's extraordinarily easy. Honestly, I'll just call it what it is. It's extraordinarily easy to hack into it. We find a lot of this to be troubling when we deal with clients that are going through messy divorces, or they're high profile individuals, they're high salaried individuals who are targets. They're executives, maybe they might be ideological leaders, for whatever their industry is, and they come under attack. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of options for advanced protection out there off the shelf. What I would call off the shelf solutions or out of the box solutions. It's really bad. We can get into the types of attackers in a few minutes when we get there. But geez, there's just not a lot of utilities. If you viewed personal cybersecurity as the utility belt that Batman wears, right? The Bat belt. It's empty. It is absolutely. There's nothing on it, man. There's no batarang. There's no cool little spray stuff. There's nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, in my professional and my personal observations, personal cybersecurity is largely ignored. It's just kind of an unspoken thing that everybody has to deal with that nobody is addressing. And I know you guys know me. You know my history. In my personal life, I certainly don't deal with bullies, and in my professional life, I absolutely will not deal with bullies. But we have what 340 million people in the States. And a lot of those people statistically have been the victim of some sort of cyber attack. But nobody's talking about it. I don't know the last time you guys went online and tried to find help for personal cybersecurity or something, where your phone is being hacked or something like that. You get a lot of little $10 apps you can download and things like that, but for the most part, there's nobody out there doing it because nobody wants to bring this really, really high level expertise that they can charge businesses $400, $500 an hour for, which is what we do in the business world. Nobody wants to bring that down to a residential level. Thankfully, that's something that we're doing at Blue Chameleon Investigations, is we are bringing that corporate, that kind of, very high level, deep technical expertise all the way down into people's homes with the Home Shield program. So I love that. It's exciting. I like bringing a little bit of sanity back into people's lives. I love that. It's a very rewarding feeling. And honestly, I think I probably sleep a little bit better at night when knowing I ruined a hacker's day. I kind of like it.
Yes.
So how would someone be able to tell if their phone was hacked? Like, how do you know?
Sure. So there's some common symptoms. We've all held a smartphone, and sometimes the fat part of your thumb will scroll screen or something occasionally. But if you happen to glance at your phone and you see screens popping up and closing that you absolutely were not touching your phone during that's a telltale sign. It really is. Also, your phone getting hot while it's not in use. So it's normal while you're using a phone. Maybe you're playing a game that's graphic heavy, or you have, if mom calls and you have an hour and a half long conversation. Your phone is just a computer. It has little fans in there. It has a processor. It all generates heat, so it's normal for it to get hot. However, if your phone is just sitting here dead like mine and it's warm to the touch, that is a telltale sign that something is running in the background.
Mm.
And there's a lot of applications that can actually remotely clone a telephone. There are remote viewing applications. There's remote access apps that can be running on your phone. There's all sorts of stuff that can be going on. So honestly, I tell our clients this: if it doesn't pass the sniff test, you need to ask somebody. If it smells funny, then it's probably funny. All of us at this point have been using smartphones for long enough to know when something isn't acting right. And these days, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, I'm sad to say it's probably a duck. And in this case, the duck is someone having access to your phone. I also, oddly, maybe not so oddly, I hear from a lot of people that use OnStar, or they use, the family GPS tracking apps, right? So you know where all the members of your family are. they will see people that are not in their family, or they will see family members that are states away when they know for a fact they're 15 minutes away at their job site. They're at work, 15, 20 minutes away, but someone is accessing this account that's pinging a cell phone tower in Texas when they live in Indiana. And that's just not right. That right there is an absolute telltale sign that something is going wrong. So yeah, those are some of the common ones. Those are some of the common ones. Usually we find out about phone hacks because of other circumstantial things that are happening in the life. And like it or not, the vast majority of us conduct most of our business and our personal lives from our phones. It's where we make our phone calls. It's where we send our emails. It's we send our text messages. It's where we store our pictures. Some of us, a good portion of us, store important documents on our phones. Your phone is a treasure trove of good information. And if you're facing a determined or a good and well-funded and intellectual attacker, your phone is an easy hack. It really is. It's a weak point in your personal security.
I get a
Okay,
lot
so
of I get a lot of emails or text messages that contain links. Are those safe?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
not really. In a word, no. We have to common sense, right? Common sense will save ourselves from ourselves. But common sense is not common, right? I think we've probably all heard that. If you get an email from someone purporting to be DHL and
Yes.
they allege that you have a package outstanding, right? But you're not expecting a package, DHL doesn't serve your area, and this is just totally out of the blue, you need to stop for a second. You need to stop, take a breath, and you need to hover over the email address, the display name for the email that sent you, and you need to take a look at the email. I promise you, DHL will never email you from a gmail.com address. I promise.
Yes.
It's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. It has never happened in history, and it will never happen in the future. No proper business will ever send you an email from gmail.com. Not going to happen.
What about text
Uh,
messages?
yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same thing, especially during election time,
Hmm.
especially this election, which is in my 40 years, it's probably the most highly contested election that there is.
Hmm.
It's harder to verify links on a phone because you can't really mouse over it and things like that. So it's best just not to click on links that come through in a text message unless it comes from a trusted individual, like maybe you and your bestie have a text chain where you send each other silly links or something. That's okay, perfectly okay, but you're applying common sense to that situation. If a short code like a 4752 number, just 4752 shows up with a text like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you did this. You have to see this." Don't click that. Don't. That's the cyber equivalent of licking a doorknob at the Walmart. Don't do that either. This is common sense.
Okay.
So we have to be somewhat responsible for ourselves.
Yes.
At work, we have an entire department, an entire expensive department full of expensive people who are looking out for us. But when we go home, we don't have that. You are your own IT department. And the same thing, Tom, I don't know if you've seen any of this stuff, but QR codes.
Hmm.
So a lot of signs just posted up with some sort of appealing message like scan here to do this. If you're at a restaurant and it's a little copper thing in the table, odds are that QR code is safe, right? You go to TGI Fridays or something, you can scan the QR code for the menu. If you're near a college campus or on a college campus and you see a sign that says he cheated on me, look at these nudes, and there's a QR code right there, don't scan that. That's a scam. That is 100% is a scam. We see it all the time. It's actually called quishing for QR code phishing.
I wrote about that.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing, Elaina. And people are just curious, right? People are like, "Ooh, he did what?" And they pull out their phone and bam, they're there and they click that link and before they know it, their phone's infected. And the scary part about that for those that are listening is you might not actually notice anything install itself on your phone, right? You click the link, it opens up a browser, and they might actually show you some pictures. But the part that you didn't see was the malware that was installed on your phone that's now going to steal your Bitcoin wallet, that's now going to steal all of your usernames and your passwords. It's going to steal all the information you have stored in apps on your phone. That's the really scary part. Also, you shouldn't be looking at people's news. Don't do that. But yeah, it's I've seen all of these things. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen it online. I have customers. I have colleagues who have seen all of this stuff. It's crazy, and people will go to just a crazy length to get people to install malware on their phones. It's pretty scary.
I think one of the worst I've seen is in our like Meta business accounts. I had over 100 attempts in like maybe 2 months. I've started trying to count them. Eventually, I just turned the feature off so you can't message us on Facebook because what we got were spams with links and threats, and my account's going to be closed, and this is
Trademark
going to happen.
infringement. We're gonna shut you
Support
down,
team.
and
There was even times Tom sent them to me, and I'm like, "Don't touch it, don't click it." Like years ago, because we've had these accounts for so long. But it was, I think it was the end of last year. In like 2 months, I had something like 122 different messages from different profiles with threatening, of closing us down and infringement and copyright and all these big words they want to throw in there. And I'm like, yeah, it's not Meta. It's not. It's
it's an
profile
emotional response,
415.
right?
Like, it's so
So
frustrating.
you've inadvertently, Elaina, hit on something that's very, very important to cybersecurity in general, but especially personal cybersecurity. Personal cybersecurity, more than anything, is an emotional security, right? So they see that message. Maybe you're a small business owner. Maybe maybe you sell stuff on Etsy or something. And you get this message, and the message is trying to elicit an emotional response for you, so that you don't have a logical response, because logic will win out over emotion 9 times out of 10. Some people, sure, some people are still going to get fooled. But if you have a shop where you sell something, a little Facebook marketplace shop, and you get that scary message, you're going to click on the link like, oh my God, don't shut me down. No. And that's an emotional response. Emotions, like in most areas of life, will get you in trouble. You know,
That's
we,
true.
uh, we have to apply logic here. We do, which is why we need people to find their, what I call their 30 seconds of sanity. When something crazy is going on, you think you've been hacked, take a deep breath, count to 30, breathe. It's going to be okay. Okay, now let's think about what's going on. Tom, you probably dealt with that in law enforcement as well, I
Oh
imagine.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
what you have to do is just analyze the situation. You stop and analyze and think about what you're doing.
that's it, right? That's it. That sums it up perfectly. Just stop and think, really. I love it. I love it.
Stop, drop, and roll. Stop, read, and analyze.
I remember Stop, Drop, and Roll. I thought I was going to be on fire as an adult when I was a kid a lot more than this.
Probably equivalent, like cyber equivalent. Just
It
stop,
is.
drop, and roll. Just figure
It
things out. It's
really
gonna
is.
be okay.
I love it.
So
Don't
so
click. Don't plug.
so with cyber attacks, it sounds like a lot of this is just the bad guys casting a wide net, seeing who will jump into the net by clicking on links. Okay.
100%. I wish I could say it was rare to get minutely targeted, because it's not. That's usually in divorce situations, Tom, or executive profiles.
Hmm.
But for people, just everyday people who are just kind of living life, nothing weird's going on, and your phone gets hacked, it's usually a very, very broad kind of scattergun approach that the attackers use. They're using automated attacks that are looking to get their hooks into something. Most of the process is automated. It's rare until you get very, very deep into a hack that an individual will stop and actually pay attention to you. Because the hackers, they're playing Vegas odds. They really are. The more people they can attack, the more successful they will be. And the unfortunate reality is, unless you are going through a divorce or some sort of personal situation, most of these guys are going to be in developing countries, third world countries, with governments that just quite simply do not care what they do. So
Hmm.
if they hit you for $5,000, they're set for a whole year in their homeland for that. And then if they can replicate that out through hundreds or even thousands of people and continue to sell your information or extort you for ransom, they actually make a pretty nice living for themselves. And then they hire other people to help them reach more people, and so on and so on. And this is how you wind up with entire buildings in India full of scammers taking advantage of at risk populations elsewhere
Hmm.
in the world. That's how it happens.
Okay. So, given how exposed we are, what solutions exist for personal cybersecurity?
So there are some low-hanging fruit things you can do. Like Avast antivirus has a very nice application that's pretty affordable for phones, and that it'll save you from infected files and things like that. It won't save you from a very targeted attack, but it's absolutely better than nothing. The best thing, the absolute best thing that people can do is enable multi-factor authentication on everything, on absolutely everything. Turn off Bluetooth sharing or AirDrop sharing on your Apple products. Don't leave your devices discoverable to anything else, especially when you go to the airport or you're going to sit down at Starbucks or something like that. And then, of course, probably the absolute game stopper, the showstopper, the end all be all of personal cybersecurity is our own Home Shield program that takes a very holistic, top down look from the same, literally the same strategies, devices that we use in the enterprise world is what we have managed to make affordable for the residential world. And so, things like firewalls, XDR solutions being installed, which is extended detection and response. It protects your email, protects your devices, it protects your cloud applications. The firewall is scanning every byte of data into and out of your home. And we also use that same security device, that firewall, to serve your wireless. So, wireless is a really, really big weak point in home networks because I'm looking out of my window right now at the end of my driveway, and if there was an attacker who was sitting at the end of my driveway, my wireless definitely reaches there. And like we discussed earlier in the podcast, if somebody has physical proximity to your home, it's maybe 20 minutes, but less, 15 minutes maybe, to use a laptop and some sort of fancy antenna, a nice external antenna to sit outside your home and breach your home network. Sometimes it doesn't even take that long.
What would you say would be the most important first step someone can take if they think they've been hacked or compromised at home?
There's two first steps. So while modern law enforcement will be, I hate to say this because I bleed blue like everybody, modern law enforcement will be mostly useless for you. Sometimes you can get a case created. If you get a case created, then insurance companies take you seriously, and it's also easier for companies like us to kind of vet that this is actually a real threat. But honestly, Elaina, these days, the very first phone call should be somebody like Blue Chameleon, like BCI, Blue Chameleon Investigations, where they have experts who have deep, deep knowledge about cybersecurity, and we're able to apply that knowledge to residential cybersecurity. Because once you've played in the business world, that is, a lot of us are certified ethical hackers. A lot of us are career hackers, white hats, gray hats, that have been there, done that. We quite literally know how to conduct these attacks that our clients are suffering. Like we know how they're done. And so it's nice to call a company that has a solution and really a strategy, kind of a framework for addressing these problems for you. It's never a bad idea. Look, I'm not hating on law enforcement. I'm not. They're not set up to deal with this, but it's never a bad idea to call them. They may be able to provide assistance, or they may be able to actually work hand in hand with us, and we can work cases together. That's happened. But the first phone call maybe is to somebody like us. And Elaina, I'd say 20, maybe 25% of the folks that call us and end up not having anything going on. They're just they're very security conscious. They want to make sure that nothing's going on. But if you're playing a game for an hour while you're watching TV and your phone gets hot, that's perfectly okay. That's normal. So advice to listeners, you still have to give room for technology to be technology, right? Technology is not perfect. There's a whole $200 billion a year industry built around that, around technology not being perfect. But you know pretty much in your gut when something is not right. You really do. And that's when you need to pick up the phone, you need to call us and just let us handhold you through that process. And that's, honestly, Elaina, that's a big thing that's missing right now for personal cybersecurity. You can't go to the Geek Squad at Best Buy and get any help with this. They just they don't have the knowledge level. They really don't, right? They don't have the knowledge level, and there's a severe lack of folks that know about cybersecurity that are willing to even entertain residential or personal business.
That's true. And it's scary that law enforcement really can't even do much yet, or if things aren't even proven. And it reminded me of something I saw recently, this old movie. Do you remember Identity Theft?
Yeah. Sure. That's a good one.
After this lady has taken over his whole identity and it's impacting his job, his finances, everything is crashing around him. No one can help him, right? You know what the police say to him? Because it's also happening in multiple states at the same time, that basically, in order for them to do almost anything, he would have to physically present this person to
Yeah.
them. Like
Basically,
literally,
bring us the bad guy and we'll arrest him.
just the bad guy, because this is happening in this state and that's happening in that state, and they'll have to talk to this one. And it was just so convoluted and crazy that it was even real. But then it was like, still basically like that. I mean, what
Yeah.
do you do if you just know this is happening, or your information was stolen, and all these bad guys out there? Like, no one's going to get them. You almost have to facilitate a whole
So
test
I
or get to
will,
the girl to know all of this stuff before you could even.
yeah, I will tell you this. So in business cybersecurity, it's very, very difficult to get your hands on a piece of information that can get someone arrested. In personal cybersecurity, it's nigh impossible. It's almost impossible. So I understand, almost every single client we have on Home Shield has told me from the word go, find this guy, screw that guy. I want him underneath the jail. I get that. Again, we're having an emotional reaction, right? Not a logical reaction. So we need to, one of the first conversations I have in the very early stages of Home Shield onboarding is we need to set clear and reasonable expectations. Firstly, our goal here is to stop whatever is happening. That's our goal, right? If someone is hurting you, our goal is to stop them from hurting you. And then moving forward from there, it becomes, let's make you a hardened target so that other people or that same person can't continue hurting you, right? Then from there, it's let's inject some mental stability back into life so that things aren't so crazy. Let's give you a little fortress at home where you know you're safe. If somewhere along the way we're able to find information that would point in the right direction that would lead to an arrest, yes, absolutely, let's get that. But getting someone arrested is not the primary objective of personal cybersecurity. It's not. Yeah, look, I love it when we find it. I love it. I love it to death. Not only does it make us look good, but I mean, like you said, Elaina, screw that guy, right? So I absolutely love it when we get those victories, but those victories are very few and far between because it doesn't take much to hide where you're actually coming from. It really doesn't take much. Um, and so setting those reasonable expectations up front, and if you're listening to this podcast right now and you're going through something and you're considering reaching out to us at BCI, know that the expectations for us is really twofold. First and foremost, we need to bring to bear some very advanced, deeply technical defenses for you. That's absolutely. Second is we need to worry about your mental health because these things really do, they are all consuming. They occupy every waking moment and sometimes your nightmares as well while you're asleep. So we need to bring some stability back into your life. If somewhere along the journey that we take together, we can find information to get somebody arrested, absolutely. Absolutely. We are going to do that. But don't go into it with an expectation or an objective of, well, I want my ex-husband arrested, or I want this guy in Russia arrested, or this guy in Morocco hack my bank account, because odds are it's not going to happen. So it's really about protecting yourself, stopping whatever is happening, and then implementing defenses that make you such a hardened target that no one can mess with you going forward. Yeah. So that's it. Sorry, Tom. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, the other part I was thinking about was education. Some of Home Shield's educational or learning could be the somebody not to click on a link. Is that all included?
It is. So we do, I'd say 30, 40% of Home Shield it's a lot of what I call consulting with our clients. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of people at work have a security mindset. They know not to click links, but when you get home, you just assume that you're not going to be under attack like you are at work, because who in the world wants to attack you, right? So yeah, average Home Shield customer, I get to know them very, very well. I really do.
I think we all do.
Yeah, yeah, we get to know
Because
them
we're the
over
first ones to listen.
5, 6, 7 hours. And Elaina, to your point, we are typically the first person in their lives that says, we believe you. You know, I hear horror stories all the time from law enforcement agencies going, they just kind of laugh. They pat you on the head and they say, yeah, okay, little buddy. And they just kind of shoo you out the door. But
Look,
absolutely, personal education is one of the very important aspects of Home Shield. And that education in some regards is pretty blanket because there are some things everybody should do, but we also try and tailor that to your specific situation as well. Maybe, you know, you have a family of in-laws that are attacking you, maybe a business partner is coming after you, maybe a business deal went bad and you feel like you're being attacked. So yeah, we do tailor that consulting and that education, and we advise life changes, activity changes, and things to improve your personal cybersecurity. Absolutely.
Okay. So, for our listeners who might be worried about their security, what are the three immediate actions that they can use to protect themselves?
All right. So the first thing they want to do is enable multi-factor authentication, MFA. So sometimes a couple of years ago it was called two-step authentication. That's the first thing you do. Enable it on absolutely everything. Yes, it's a pain in the butt. Yes, you need to deal with it. Yes, it's important. For those of you listening that may not know multi-factor authentication, when you go to sign into a website and it says, hey, we just texted you a code that you need to type in here. That's multi-factor authentication, because you not only know your password, but now you're proving that you have this phone. And then they send a code to the phone. So there's something you know and something you have. The other thing is run your updates, guys. Like, look, when Windows pops up this little button that says, hey, we have updates, click here to install them, stop clicking schedule later. Stop it. Just install the updates. Manufacturers, Microsoft, Apple, Samsung, I mean, take your pick, whoever they are, they do a perfectly reasonable job of plugging holes in their platforms. They really do. As vulnerabilities are found, they routinely release security updates. And, you know, they're not just changing the colors or changing the look and feel of something. So
fixes
there's a
things,
reason they
fixes
want you to
bugs.
install this security update, because they found a security vulnerability. And if you don't install that security update because you're lazy or you can't be bothered, or ooh, you know, Windows updates always break my machine, which is a real thing.
Mhm.
That's kind of on you. You know, if it's flu season and you don't get your flu shot, you can't get upset when you get the flu. It doesn't work that way. You had protection available to you and you chose not to use it. So that's the second thing. You know, use multi-factor authentication, update your systems, and there are a ton of either free or ultra low cost, very affordable VPN options that can actually anonymize your internet traffic. So it hides your location, it provides a little bubble of encryption around your traffic. Excellent step towards remaining anonymous online, so that it makes it harder for people to find you, and protecting that traffic while you're browsing and conducting business on the internet. So I'd say that's the low-hanging fruit right there. If the entire country did those three things, we would see a rapid drop in business for Home Shield. We really would.
Now, most of the country probably also doesn't know what a VPN is.
Right. It's a virtual private network, so it provides some anonymity to your network traffic, so other people can't identify that it's you while you're doing what you're doing. Also hides your location. There is kind of a misconception about VPNs that they provide hard cybersecurity, and they don't. VPNs make you anonymous, and there is a little bit, a very small degree of security through obfuscation. Obfuscation being, you know, you hide the details of who you really are. You kind of hide the real facts. And so using a VPN really is just considered part of good hygiene, is what it is. Plus, your traffic probably looks like you're coming out of, you know, Russia, Timbuktu, Saskatchewan, you know, wherever the VPN happens to serve through. So yeah, it's the third piece of low hanging fruit that folks can do to drastically improve their cybersecurity posture at home.
Okay.
How
All
about the
right.
other things? Is that easy to do? Do you think that would take a long time to do these three steps? Or can your average
Oh,
person really implement
no, no,
that
no,
the
no.
same day?
Yeah, no. Enabling multi-factor authentication is usually 2 or 3 mouse clicks when you're logged into an account, like Facebook, for instance. They're actually, thankfully, I'm very thankful for this. a lot of websites and a lot of vendors are requiring multi-factor authentication. So they're not actually giving you an option. You have to use multi-factor authentication. So I love that. So whenever you create the account, you also set up the two-step or the multi-factor, and you're just done. Setting up a VPN, less than 20 minutes from start to finish. Very, very easy. There's a ton of providers out there, and that focus exclusively on residential VPNs. They have made it very, very simple for you. It's really easy. Probably the longest part of the big three is updating your systems. Sometimes, especially those of us using Windows devices, it can take 10, 15, sometimes even 20 minutes to do. But to be honest, Microsoft has gotten better about, a lot of people aren't going to like this, but Microsoft has gotten better about their patching strategy. Most of them take, 3 to 5 minutes.
That's not too
And
bad
it
anymore.
may not seem like you have 3 to 5 minutes to wait, but I promise you, waiting 3 to 5 minutes now is better than dealing with a 3 to 5 month journey of recovering once you've been hacked. We see it happen all the time. We see it every week, Tom, don't we?
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, it doesn't take much time at all. It really doesn't. In the grand scheme of things, it's absolutely nothing.
Okay. We've had some questions submitted ahead of this episode, so let's go ahead and tackle one. If I think I'm being hacked at home, who can I call or trust to help me?
So the topical answer here is the obvious one, right? It's Blue Chameleon Investigations out of North Carolina. That's, even if you're in a different state, we get a lot of listeners. We're going to have a lot of listeners that aren't in North Carolina. That's perfectly okay. We have Home Shield customers, Texas, California, East, West, North to South, all over the United States. Absolutely all over. So the obvious answer is Blue Chameleon Investigations. And one thing I do want to reassure, as the head of the Home Shield program, I want to reassure folks that we will never take your money if we don't need it, right? If we feel that something is legitimately not happening, we're not going to charge you for anything. That's okay. Quite often, Tom, I'll end up on an hour and a half, 2 hour phone call, and at the end of the day, they just don't need Home Shield. They just needed somebody to believe them and listen and give them some affirmation that they're going through something. That's quite often the case, and a lot of folks in this situation, and disturbingly, I hear it from their own family members. They kind of get alienated in their social circles, and that's bad. I hate that for them. I really do. So the obvious answer is called Blue Chameleon Investigations out of Monroe, North Carolina. That's the obvious answer. Your secondary and perhaps parallel answer is law enforcement, because while law enforcement as a whole cannot help you, will not help you, generally does not believe you, sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes you'll get lucky, and sometimes a detective will get assigned. There's also the FBI field office, but legitimately, good luck getting a call back from them. Most of the time, they're not even going to, they're not even going to entertain you. They're just not. In the business world, sometimes they entertain us, if the hack is big enough, if the breach is big enough or impactful enough. But even then, usually we get voicemails or just automated emails saying, hey, give us the information. Okay, cool. And there's no actual assistance there. They just want the information. So yeah, calling Blue Chameleon Investigations. If you have someone local, a PI firm that focuses on cybersecurity, by all means, call them as well. We'd love for you to call us, but just call someone. And I can tell you from experience, there are not a lot of folks, especially PI firms, that are focusing on cybersecurity. There's just not. The closest you can get is Geek Squad from Best Buy, and they don't focus on personal cybersecurity at all. They lack the skills, they lack the knowledge, they lack everything. They're way too commercial to get tailored and individualized like we are.
It's true. It's crazy because the clients that we've had and I've talked to, I mean, are at their absolute wit's end, and frustrated because they have tried or talked to, like, there's not many places to turn, and it makes it for a very emotionally tolling experience, where people feel completely alone and no one believes me. But as soon as I switch, this happened to this and this happened to this account, and things are happening. But most people won't give them more than a minute to even hear them out, and it's just
That's it.
goes one person to another that's not able to do anything or help or fix. So
That's
when
it.
they get to us, and they usually talk to me, they talk to Tom, they talk to you, many of the clients, and I think just that overall sense of Someone's finally helping me. Someone actually understands. They can instruct me on what to do, and then they follow and take our advice and ask a lot of questions, and we're kind of their partner in this journey because it's new and there aren't a lot of companies doing this or that care about your average individual to put the work in and say, how can we help with this problem? We all went from a flip phone to a computer in our pocket and no one was told what to do about it. I used to teach iPhone and iPad classes 10 years ago to someone's first smartphone or their first Android. I used to teach classes. Most people did not even understand how Wi-Fi works
Yeah,
or
that's great.
Bluetooth, let alone trying to hack. I mean, I would teach 30 people at a time how to use the basics on a new device because if they were coming to buy something, I would encourage, come see me, I'll teach you how to use it. A lot of people are pressured into technology and then never given support once they have it by friends, by family. You need to get this, you need to have this. Who's setting up all your accounts? Who's going to protect this device?
That's
So
it. There you go.
it's a lot.
It is, Elaina. Thank you for that. It absolutely is. Tom, I would love to get into some war stories on the next episode, on the next broadcast here. I would love to
Yes,
share some war
we have
stories.
some good war stories.
We do.
So, to recap, cybersecurity is an essential service that BCI, Blue Chameleon Investigations, provides. We can be contacted either on the internet at www.trustbci.com or phone 704-233-7758. And if you'd like to subscribe to our channel, please hit the subscribe button. And if our next episode, we will be broadcasting in the next week or so.
Perfect. I love it. Before we sign out, let me just tell everybody thank you for listening. This is fun. I've enjoyed it. Tom, Elaina, thank you very much for having me as a guest. I hope to be a guest on the next one, and we will see everybody on the next episode. Thanks so much.
All right.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right. Thank you.
See you next time.